Hi guys, my name is Bethany and I am an educator with CAPSA, and today what we are going to be talking about are healthy emotions and more specifically healthy emotional regulation. So our goal for today is to learn a little bit about emotions, feelings, and then also how these things relate to having healthy relationships, because ultimately that's what we at CAPSA are striving for in our education department, right? Hoping that everybody is able to have healthy, fulfilling relationships in their lives. So, first things first, let's get started. An emotion is defined as a natural, instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with other people. Now, what I want you to focus on is the fact that they are natural and instinctive, okay? We can't control whether or not we have emotions, but we can control how we choose to respond to those emotions. We can't control whether or not we have emotions, but we can control how we choose to respond to those emotions. And they also have a purpose, right? So even though we can't control whether or not we have emotions because they're natural and instinctive, they also have a purpose. For example, fear is an emotion that we experience, and its purpose is to keep us safe. Okay, so emotions in and of themselves are not bad. There's no such thing as bad emotions, because if you're human, you're going to experience a range of emotions, from joy to anger to sadness to fear. But the way in which we choose to respond to those emotions really is what makes the difference, okay? So how are emotions and relationships connected is our next question. Now, emotions and relationships are connected because when we have greater skills to be able to control our emotions in a way that is or control our responses to our emotions in a way that is healthy and not harmful for ourselves and others, because that's the goal, right? Is being able to deal with our emotions in a way that is healthy and doesn't cause harm to ourselves or another person, and that's how it connects to having healthy relationships. Because the more that we are able to understand our emotions, describe them to someone, communicate them to another person, and have the skills in order to know how to control and respond appropriately to those emotions, we're going to be able to have healthier relationships. Because when we get angry, which we all inevitably will in any relationship that we have in our life, we're going to experience conflict and different emotions such as anger. We will know how to respond to that anger in a way that is not going to harm that person and instead can be constructive and solve problems. So, emotions are our natural instinctive states of mind that we experience, but we also experience a number of different feelings as a result of emotions. Now, feelings describe emotions. So we have a number of emotions that we experience from joy, sadness, anger, disgust, fear, but we also have countless other feelings that describe those emotions. And this is really important to have kind of a wide feeling vocabulary, to understand the range of feelings that we experience in order to help us better communicate with others and better understand how we can deal with the complex emotions that we experience. Now, here's a little example. Let's take sadness. Sadness is an emotion that we experience, but we experience many other different feelings that describe sadness. And those can range from bummed out to melancholy or just down, all the way to being depressed, or sadness can make us upset, or we can even feel heartbroken, right? Those are all feelings that describe sadness. Let's take another one, for example, joy, on the other side of the spectrum. Rarely are we going to say, oh, I feel so joyous today, right? There are a number of different feelings that describe the joy that we might be experiencing. We might be feeling happy, or excited, or elated, or just content and calm, just chilling, or thankful, or ecstatic for something, right? So understanding the complex range of feelings that we experience is important, because when it comes to learning how to, one, communicate those with other people so that we can have healthier, better relationships, and two, understanding how to deal with those complex emotions. Because let's take anger, for example, okay? Similar to how we discuss sadness and joy have different feelings that describe them, so does anger. And the way in which I respond to feelings of irritation versus the way in which I respond to feelings of rage is probably going to be pretty different, right? When I am implementing skills or calming strategies in order to deal with that level of anger, I'm going to have to take different things into account, and I'm going to have to use a calming strategy that matches the intensity of the level of emotion that I am feeling, right? From irritation to rage. So today we are going to, today in particular, we are going to focus on the emotion anger. Now, we can ask ourselves, why? Why is this the emotion that we are choosing to focus on today? And I will answer that question for you. Anger is one of the most powerful, difficult emotions to deal with. We will all feel angry at some point in our life. It's not going to go away. So learning skills to manage anger in a way that is healthy and safe for ourselves and other people is going to be an essential life skill that we will carry with us throughout the rest of our life. So today we'll be focusing on anger, and when it comes to CAPSA and as a prevention educator, what I'm here to talk about, anger is one of those powerful, explosive emotions that if we don't know how to control it properly, can easily be used to harm or abuse another person, which is what we're trying to prevent. So we're going to go through a couple things in understanding how we can learn to control not only anger, but other tough emotions and how to deal with them and respond to them appropriately. So one of the first steps, if we're speaking about anger, is recognizing what makes you angry. Okay, so these can be called hot buttons or pet peeves, and these are the things that get under your skin, that bother you, the things that make you instantaneously angry, right? Somebody comes up and they jump and press on your hot button and you're angry immediately. So think about this. What are some of your hot buttons? What are pet peeves that you have? For me, personally, some of mine are when people chew their food with their mouth open. Or another big one, when people are cruel to others. I don't understand when people are cruel and mean to other people. So those are things that I know that get me really upset and that get me angry. So being able to know what your hot buttons are can be helpful in recognizing when you might be getting angry, right? Because if we've already taken time to look within ourselves and understand the things that make us angry and the things that make us upset, when they happen or when they come up in conversation, we can more easily see those things, go, oh, that's something that makes me upset, and that can be a cue to us that we might start to get angry. So these are just cues to getting us to realize when we're becoming angry, because in order to stop and change from reacting to anger versus responding appropriately to anger, one of the first steps is recognizing that we're angry, okay? So know your hot buttons. That's important. The second thing, know your physical cues to anger. And when I say physical cues to anger, I mean, when you get angry, what does it feel like? What does it feel like in your body? What thoughts do you think? Are you angry immediately, or are you kind of shoveling that anger down, that irritation down, and letting it bottle up? Okay, so we have two main types of anger that we experience. First is immediate anger. Now this is when somebody comes up, says something to you, slams on your hot button, and you're immediately angry. What does that feel like? Common responses to what this feels like is clenching jaw or clenching fists, or starting to sweat, getting hot, getting red in the face, or fidgeting, right? Some people might start to twirl their thumbs together or start shaking their leg, right? So those are some physical cues to anger. Now let's talk about pent up anger. So this is when maybe minor irritations have been happening, but you haven't been dealing with them in a way that is actually dealing with the energy of anger, because anger is energy and you have to do something with it, or else you're just going to bottle it down and it's going to come exploding out at some point or another. So pent-up anger is when you're constantly shoveling these things down, and over time you might begin to have thoughts like you're thinking a lot about telling that person off, right? You're like fantasizing about telling them off and how that conversation is going to go in your head. Or you begin to resent that person or withdraw from them, or you start making snarky comments towards them, right? So, two things to remember here. Whether it's immediate anger or pent-up anger, understanding what your specific cues to anger are is really important in understanding when you're angry, right? We want those physical cues to be a little trigger in your brain going, oh, hey, I'm clenching my jaw right now. Maybe I'm upset about something and I need to take a step back. Okay, so that's our second step. So first step is understanding our hot buttons, what makes us angry. Second step is understanding how anger feels in our body so that we can be more in tune with that, and it can be a cue to us when maybe we need to take a break, take a step back. Okay, now the third step that we're going to talk about today is how our tools for how to actually deal with anger. Okay, our calming strategies. Now this is the toolbox part. This is the skills part. We want to be able to learn skills so that when we recognize what makes us angry, recognize that we're getting angry in our body or through the thoughts that we're thinking, we know how to deal with it in an appropriate way. And calming strategies are simply things that you adapt in order to make yourself feel better or calm yourself down in the moment or after the incident has occurred. Okay? And this is personal. You have to find calming strategies that work for you and make it feel like you have dealt with that anger, it's done, it's gone, and you can move on. Because remember, if you don't feel like you've dealt with it, you're probably just bottling it up and it will come out at some later date. So, I'm going to share with you some examples of calming strategies that work for a lot of people, but again, you have to take what you learn, think about what will work for you, and practice them, because the only way you're going to know if it's actually going to work for you is if you practice them. All right, so calming strategies. Take some deep breaths, right? If you get mad in the moment, somebody makes you angry, take a moment to close your eyes and take some deep inhales and exhales, right? Slow down the physical reaction that's happening in your body. Because if you can slow your heart rate down, you can slow your breathing down a little bit, you might be able to think a little bit more clearly about what's going on and how you want to react and respond in the moment. Second, and these are just suggestions, right? If you feel safe and comfortable doing so, you can explain to somebody why you're angry. You could say, hey, I actually don't appreciate what you just said, or I don't agree with what you said. Let's talk about it. Sometimes through having safe and healthy communication, we can talk through our problems and maybe we realize it was all a miscommunication, or maybe we solve a problem where we learn something about one another. So if you feel safe and comfortable doing so, this can be a really constructive and productive tactic to use. All right, next thing that you can do in the moment is use some positive self-talk. Now this is especially helpful if maybe you're in an unhealthy relationship, or maybe somebody is just being unkind or rude or inconsiderate to you and saying negative things to you. Use some positive self-talk. I can do this, right? Like, I know I can keep my anger in check. I can only control what I do and what I say. So I'm going to harness that, and I'm going to choose to be in control of that. Talk yourself up. Use some positive self-talk. This takes practice. Another thing you can do in the moment is leave. You can take a break if you need to, right? And I think this is something people don't realize a lot. If all I can do to not scream at the person in front of me because I'm so angry is go into another room or leave, that's completely acceptable. And you have every right to do that. Remember, these are things that you can do in the moment in order to calm yourself down and to try to mitigate any harm that could occur in that moment, right? So if I need to take a walk, if I need to take a break, if I need to go into the other room and I tell that person, hey, I want to continue this conversation, I just can't do it right now, so give me some time, and you leave, that's perfectly fine, okay? Now let's get into things that you can do after. So these are all ideas that you could implement in the moment, right? You're immediately angry. These are ways to calm your body down and keep yourself from saying something that you're going to regret or from harming another person. So here are some things that you can do in order to deal with the anger and deal with the feelings that come along with the anger. So, exercise. Exercise is great for you. And remember, anger is energy. So, you have to do something with it. Maybe it's going for a run and you bring yourself to the point of exhaustion so you have no energy to feel angry anymore, right? Do something you enjoy. This can be gardening, this can be painting a wall, right? This can be cleaning a room, or this can be more traditional forms of exercising, like going for a walk or going swimming or riding your bike or going for a run. But exercising is a great way to get rid of the energy that anger gives you. All right, another one that I really like is journaling. And whether it's just you have a moment, let's say at work or at school, right? And something happened and it made you angry, but you don't have time to fully deal with it yet, you can just rip out a piece of paper from a notebook and just write. Just write about what made you angry, write about what made you frustrated, and how unfair you think it is, whatever it might be. Get all your feelings out. Shred that baby. Throw it away, right? And you can also do this at home. You can journal about the incident that happened, how it made you feel, because that in and of itself is good and helpful for releasing energy and releasing the negative feelings that can come with anger sometimes. But then you can also take it a step further, and after writing about what made you angry, how it made you feel, you could also use that opportunity to brainstorm possible solutions or how you might deal with that in the future. And that can be really helpful for thinking through problems and making this seem like it's being in control of your anger is something that you can grasp more easily, because you are in control of the way that you respond. But that doesn't mean it's super simple, right? You have to practice. All right, another thing that I recommend is practicing mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is simply taking time to pay attention to you and paying attention on purpose. So this could just be sitting in your room by yourself, closing your eyes, doing some deep breathing, and really paying attention to how you're feeling. And similar to what we talked about in the journaling, you could do the same thing here. You can sit with yourself, think about maybe an event that made you upset, think about how it made you feel, why it made you feel that way, and think about how you're going to manage those feelings that have arisen from that situation. Just taking time to do some deep breathing and paying attention to what you need is really important, and how to take care of what you need, okay? Self-care, we hear mindfulness being brought up a lot when we talk about self-care, but it really is important. And sometimes self-care is not the fun, like taking bubble baths or painting your nails that we think, but sometimes it's really sitting down and having some deep thought about well, what's making me angry? How can I maybe avoid what's making me angry in the future? Or how can I learn to deal with the anger through some coping strategies that I've developed, okay? And the last thing that we're going to talk about is doing something you enjoy. Simple as that. Whether it's writing or whether you are into art, so you like to paint or draw, or whether it's watching your favorite movie, right? We like things. Do the things you enjoy because you like them and they make you feel good. So sometimes that can be enough for us, right? Sometimes you can go for a walk when it's sunny and the birds are chirping and it smells like spring outside, and that makes you happy, and that's enough for you to let go of the anger that you've been feeling. Now, we've been talking specifically about anger, but this is also important to keep in mind for other tough to deal with emotions, like sadness. Sadness can be a really tough emotion to deal with, and some of these same strategies can be applied. So taking care of yourself, using positive self-talk, journaling, exercising to release those good endorphins in your brain and make you feel good about yourself. But take this information and remember that you are in control of the way that you respond and the way that you choose to respond to things happening. Okay, and it's important to remember that there's a lot that's outside of our control, but the way in which we choose to respond to the emotions that we have and the feelings that we experience, although difficult, is in our control. And it's something that we need to practice in order to be good at. And it's a life skill. You're going to have emotions for the rest of your life, so learning how to deal with them in a way that can help further a healthy relationship with yourself and a healthy relationship with other people is going to be a lifelong skill and will be very beneficial to you and everybody around you. So remember, the goal in this is practice makes perfect, if you want to use that word. And our goal is to be able to manage our emotions so that we can have healthy, fulfilling lives full of healthy relationships with ourselves and other people. So go forth and practice your new skill set of healthy emotional regulation. And that's all I have for you guys. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, guys.